Guys, welcome to JavaScript in 15 minutes. Now, if you haven't gone back and looked at my other tutorials of HTML5 in 15 minutes or CSS3 in 15 minutes, I suggest that you do that. It will give you this code and set the browser up like we're doing right here, so it will be a little bit better. You'll be more prepared for the launch of what we're going to talk about here with JavaScript. Okay, I want to start off by talking to you about the tags. Here is your script tag. Now this is a lot like your style sheet tag. You put your style sheet in here in order to implement some of the code with your style sheet, and then we would cut that out and put that in our style sheet up here, and this is how we were linking to that. Remember how we talked about how that made that a lot more scalable? Well, the script is the same way. So we'll do the script in this way, and then we'll put the file name .js here, and then we'll cut this out and put that in there. So for now, we'll just put this code in here so we can see if it's going to work like we are planning it to work, and then we'll cut that out and we will put those in those files. Okay, so one of the things I want to start talking to you about first is ways to declare a memory location. Okay, there's var, let, and const. Var is global, and so it's caused a lot of problems. Without spending a lot of time talking to you about that, you have to go and do some research and see some of that yourself. But var, because it's global, has caused some problems. Let, what let will do, let me go in here. Let declares these locations. Okay, so we're going to do X, we're going to do Y, and we're going to do Z, and then we'll semicolon to close that off. Now what's this doing is it's declaring these locations and it's naming them as memory locations so that we can use them. Now const does the same thing. It names that memory location, but const keeps it. If I added 5 to that X and then continued down through the code, the const would make it so that I could never change that code. It would stay as a constructor, or it would stay consistent down through that code as you would want it to be, depending on how the code is that you're putting it together and what you want it to do. So X equals 5 here, and Y equals 6 here, and Z equals X plus Y, and then semicolon to close that off. Semicolon to close that off. Okay, now you'll notice the space that I got in here, guys. As far as a code, from a code standpoint, that's kind of like good form. It makes it legible. You can see too, so you don't have to deal with bugs and stuff of that nature. When you come back to do bugs, it's a lot more legible so that you can clean things up faster. You can see where errors might be. Okay, now JavaScript, what JavaScript does is it deals with and works with the document. Essentially, this browser, this DOM here, is a document, okay? So JavaScript comes in here and it says, hey, document, we're going to get one of your elements and we're going to work with that element. So this is get element by ID, and because we're working with numbers and stuff, let's make that ID called math problem. Okay, so whatever we do in here with this on this math problem, we want that to appear on our website up here. And what I want to do is I'm going to put a P tag in like that, and then the ID is going to be, we'll put the ID here, and we'll have that be math problem as well. Okay, so what we want to do is, I don't know why that did that like that, but anyway, we'll have that set up like that, so that, close that up that way. Okay, so that puts that ID inside of this P here. This is an ID of the math problem, and again, it's probably good form to separate that for legibility. So ID is the math problem, and if you double click that, guys, you'll notice that it highlights the other one. So if you're curious, when you're debugging, if you're curious whether or not you've spelled it right, that's kind of a trick that you can do. You can double click that and it'll tell you if it's spelt the same. So everything we do here now is going to appear on this location, which is going to come up here in our form. Okay, so now we want to do dot, we're going to do dot inner HTML, and that is equal to, and we're going to say some cool calculation. Now I like to do little things like this, guys, because I'm going to run this like this, and then I'm going to do this, and because I can now look at this and say, okay, so now whatever I do here is going to show up here. I've verified that before I move forward, and then it just makes it easier to debug. Okay, so another thing I wanted to show you is we're going to take some of these numbers here and we're going to be implementing numbers and calculations with string. And there's several different ways to do that, and as you go in and start doing some research and studying up on your JavaScript, you'll see several ways that they do that. But I think the best and most supreme way is what they call backticks. So you put the two backticks in here and then a semicolon to close that off. Now what that does is it makes it so that I can add text and calculations right side by side really clean. And so X, I'm going to say, is 5. Now this is going to show up as text. Okay, so X equals 5, and I'm going to say Y equals 6. And so Z therefore will equal, and now we do a $, and we put in our curly brackets. We'll put in the two curly brackets that way, like that, and then we'll put in the Z. Okay, so the calculation of whatever the Z is will go in here. Now if we save that and come up here and refresh that, we will see that it's calculated. It's showing us the string here of X equals 5 and Y equals 6, so Z is going to equal 11, and it will do that calculation there. Okay, I want to show you some other things down here really quick, guys, on some things you can do. This is kind of a security thing. I'm going to do a TH here, and we're going to say, we'll call this form output. And for sake of time, I am going to come down here really quick, and I'm just going to paste this code in. What I'm doing is I'm putting another location down in the data location here. So you can see here what I've done is I've ID'd this location again so that my location here is ID'd, and then I've come in and I've created a constructor because I don't want this input here to change from a security standpoint. So I've gone on my document and I've queried the selector of the input, okay, and then I've gone in here and I've created a log, and I've got the document.element, and I'm taking this entered text. You can see as I highlight those are the same, and then this is a method here. So on the input, a method, a JavaScript method, is saying look at the listener. So anytime I put anything to this input location, I'm firing off another function called update that value, and that update.value comes in and it takes this location here, and these are JavaScript callouts, so it targets the value that is within this input. Okay, so if I save this and if I refresh my page, it shows me my form excuse me, form input there, and then as I enter information here, it's got to think about stuff here for a minute. Okay, so as I enter this information in here now, you can see it enter the information over on the other side. Bob Hope. Now this is a nice security thing, guys. I don't know how much of this you'll really use on your website or how useful it will be. Maybe you can think of things that it would be very useful for you on. Another thing I want to show you really quick that might be a little more practical in some of the things that you might do. Let's say that you've got let me click over here really quick. I'm over here, and let's say that you've got say an e-commerce website. Okay, we're going to take that, we're going to come over here, and I'm going to put this down in this real cool section down below here, so we can put that in and review that ever so quickly. Okay, so now what this is doing is I've taken some of my style sheet as a tag, and I've put button in here so that I can actuate this. But essentially what I am doing, guys, let me save this and I'll show you what it's going to do, and then I'll go through that with you. Okay, so let's say that you're on an e-commerce site and your consumer's gotten everything they want and they're at the end of their list, and this is saying completing my order. So you're ready to check out. It says, are you ready to proceed to checkout? Now see my JavaScript, I'm sorry, not my JavaScript, but my style sheet over here on my CSS, how I have made that so it's got that nice hover over. But what I've done is I've come down here and I've put in two divs. Okay, one div has got an ID of welcome and one div has got an ID of awesome, and I am working with those down here in my JavaScript. Well, the one panel I've just said go ahead and show, which says complete my order, and it says everything that you see here, as well as the button that I have. Okay, this one I have hidden, and so what I'm doing is when I click on this button, it invokes this add listener. As soon as this add listener sees this click, it invokes and starts this function. What this function does is it comes out here to the document, it gets this element by ID, which is welcome, and it gives it a hidden of true. And so what it does on the fly, and that's what I told you about is really cool about JavaScript, is it runs out and it does this stuff kind of on the fly. So it will come out here and it will tell this location to now be hidden, and it will tell this location that it no longer should be hidden. And so your consumer comes in here after they've completed and finished their order, and it says, yes, I want to go to checkout. So what that does is that jumps over and it says, thank you. Thank you for shopping with us and have an awesome day. But of course, as you can see, this can take you to a lot of other additional places as far as showing them what's on their shopping cart, what's in their shopping cart, and things of that nature. Guys, I hope this has been helpful. These are kind of some real world scenarios that you could or would use on your website. JavaScript is really deep, and there's a lot more to learn on JavaScript, and as you take the time to go look at that, and again, if you're going to go into the Node.js and Express is a part of Node.js that is used to go back into the databases. So I'll have this code down here so that you can grab this and kind of pull this up as a startup here and re-review this. And I will also have some good links down below of locations where you can go and really study up on JavaScript so that you can be more of a JavaScript master. I think the others, as far as HTML and CSS, are a little quicker and easier to learn, but JavaScript is so wide in what it does and how it supports so many of the other software programs that JavaScript is one that you would probably want to take more than 15 minutes here and dive into. But again, as I mentioned, I will have those links down below so that you can review those. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful, guys, and we will see you on the next one. Have a great day.